And then just give it a minute so you're attending. Oh, Tony's on. You good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I'm going to be in the office for a bit if you need.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready to go? Or is it?
Yeah, let's, can we get the, excuse me, right, stuff that you don't want to say, but we can do that later.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Okay, I want to welcome everyone to our November monthly meetings, the Dorado Hills Community Council, and welcome to the month of November. Halloween came and went without much event. It was the strangest Halloween I've ever participated in, so hopefully not to be a recurring event. Hopefully we don't go through that again because it was pretty depressing actually. So looking on to better things, hopefully we'll get through this COVID pandemic and get back to something closer to normalcy before too long. So with that introduction, I would like to have our leadership team introduce themselves, and I'm going to go in reverse order this evening. So Cindy, could you share with us your role?
I'm Cindy Munt. I'm Supervisor Heidal's assistant, and I also do the community information and outreach for the community council.
Thank you. John Davey.
Hello, I'm John Davey. I'm the 2020 chair of the El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee, and we are resident volunteers that examine and analyze locally proposed development projects in El Dorado Hills, and we provide resident feedback to the planning department, the applicant, the planning commission, and the board of supervisors.
Thank you, John. And Dr. Elder, I don't think he's with us this evening. He tries to attend as many meetings as possible, but he's an ER doc, so sometimes he gets obviously taken away for other events. So we'll go on beyond that. Glenn Krakow, is Glenn on there?
Yes.
Yes, I see him. Okay. Glenn?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Glenn Krakow. I am the District 1 representative for the Community and Economic Development Advisory Committee, basically trying to help keep economic activity and some positive community type activities in the county as well. And of course, during these times, just trying to help people stay focused on staying safe and keeping as much of the county open as we possibly can.
Thank you, Glenn. Richard?
Yes, I'm here.
Please introduce yourself, what your role is.
Okay, Richard Ross, good governance. I guess that's what tomorrow is all about. And I guess everybody has already shown up from the numbers that are being talked about. So we'll just see if anybody knew what they were doing. And in the meantime, I will be there to pick up the pieces afterwards. So.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Richard. So don't forget to vote tomorrow if you haven't voted, all right? Everybody who hasn't voted needs to turn out and make sure that happens, because it's obviously very important to us, not only locally, but also at other levels, whether it be the state level or the federal government. So please set it on your calendar and make it happen if you haven't already voted. And I've not gotten a message back from John Vania, and I don't see him on there.
Unless he's on.
Yes, is he dialed in?
I'm sorry, John.
We're trying to get John Vania on the phone. Not sure if he was going to zoom in or if he was going to dial in. He's had a little tough time here the last couple of meetings getting acclimated to a 5 o'clock start, I guess. So let's move beyond that. So the next thing I want to do is identify any other District 1 appointed commissioners or committee members who may be present.
Let's see, Wendy May.
Okay, Wendy May, can you tell us what your responsibilities are with the county?
Yes, sir. I'm a proud director of our County Assessor Appeals Board, Tax Assessor Appeals Board. So happy to serve. Thank you so much.
And we're getting lots of questions since the new tax bills are starting to arrive.
I know. I think I'm going to be very busy soon.
Everybody tries to sort through it and try to understand what it all means. So yeah, I know it's probably
everybody wants their property values to go up, but they don't want to pay the taxes equivalent to it.
Unfortunately, that's correct. Yeah, we're a tax adverse society. So, but unfortunately, the taxes have to be paid. Otherwise, you end up with severe consequences. So
That's right.
All right, anyone else? Raylene or Tita or, okay.
John, I think
Right.
you forgot Chief Lilienthal.
Oh, we forgot.
Oh, yeah, Chief, sorry, skip by you. Chief Lilienthal, thank you.
Not a problem. Michael Lilienthal, Deputy Chief. I coordinate the public safety group, and my goal is to try and network anybody's problems with either the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, Fire Department, depending on kind of whose area of responsibility they fit into.
Thank you, Chief, appreciate that. So with that, we're going to go to adoption of the regular meeting agenda. Does anyone on the leadership team have a proposed change to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll take the agenda as submitted. Third item, public comment. This is the opportunity for anyone who is here to speak to an item that's not on tonight's agenda, whether it's a comment or a question, you're welcome to do so. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom, or do we have the instructions?
Yes, do you want me to read this?
Yes, please.
Okay, please be sure to unmute yourself when called upon. If you're joining the meeting by phone, press *9 to indicate a desire to comment. We'll call you by the last 3 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. If you're joining by Zoom, press the raise hand button and please voluntarily state your name for the record. Okay, we have, we've got Riona.
Okay. Rayona, you're on.
Okay. I'm just curious, and maybe this is a question for the chief, if there's any contingency plans for civil unrest or anything that we're anticipating in El Dorado Hills based on the election, and not just what goes on here, but what might go on other places and get imported here.
Yes, thank you for the question. It's definitely on the radar of all the public safety agencies. I would say the specific focus is more in the law enforcement community. They are actively watching and monitoring and taking their actions that they like to put in place for the civil unrest possibilities. But as far as locally to El Dorado Hills, we don't have anything telling us there could be a problem here, but we are fully staffed, and I know our Sheriff's Department is keenly aware of the risk, and they have taken their internal actions to make sure they're ready to respond.
Okay. Is there a way, and maybe this happens, I haven't been a part of any kind of, big problem or whatever here in El Dorado Hills, but is there a way you notify residents if things went haywire or if we should shelter in place or whatever? What are the ways of reaching out to us?
No, that's a great question. We're fortunate to have a really good, it's a reverse 911 system where we could call residents in a certain geographic area and give them a pre-recorded message, which could indicate, we use it a lot on the wildland fires for evacuations, but we could use it for any purpose, including if you did need to shelter in place. And we actually have a map of the area that we're interested in reaching out to the residents, and we literally draw with our fingers on the screen and are able to notify all the people that live in that area. So we are absolutely ready to use that system at any time, whether it's a fire or a civil unrest or any other flood or any other emergency. So we definitely are prepared for that. And the level of preparedness that the law enforcement communities do, they generally don't share like what they're doing because they want that to be somewhat up to their strategic advantage.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank
Mike,
you so much.
Yes,
could
sir.
I add a footnote?
Please.
On the sheriff's website, he has a situation. I can't think of the name of it. Maybe a supervisor remembers it. You can sign up, be notified by the sheriff. And if one of my colleagues can think of the name of it.
It's Code Red.
Code Red. Thank
Yep.
you. Go to the sheriff's website and you can find that and sign up, and you will get an automatic notification of any type of emergency that impacts your area, I believe.
No, you're correct. So the Sheriff's Code Red system is available on their website. If you Google search El Dorado County Sheriff and go to the OES page, they have the link there. It allows you to use your cell phone, which is nice, to register your address connected to your cell phone. So if you're not at home and you're at work somewhere, you can get a call on your cell phone as well. So it is a great thing. I highly recommend that you take a look at that page if you never have anyways, because it's worth registering as many phone numbers as you want to your address.
And I will add that our sheriff operates the county Office of Emergency Services, and in the event that there was some form of emergency, they open up the Emergency Operations Center. And so we would be getting information through various county staff members, through the sheriff, and that output would go through Facebook. It would go into Nextdoor. It would go into all of the forms of immediate media response that we have in terms of trying to keep people informed. So I don't think we're anticipating anything of that degree. But I think we're fortunate we don't live in Sacramento County, because I suspect there may be unrest in downtown Sacramento. We'll see, but hopefully everybody is able to take this calmly, and we'll get through the election cycle and then start sorting out what happens after that. So best of luck to us, huh? Thank you for your question, Riona. Do anybody else?
Anybody else? No.
Okay, and it looks like John Vania, you've joined us. Is that correct? Can you hear us?
Needs to unmute.
Yes, I am. I'm here on audio.
Okay, can you share with us what your role is on the community council? We already went through that, but we didn't identify what you do.
Yeah, I apologize for being a little late. Yeah, infrastructure. I'm the District 1 Planning Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. So with that, and no additional public comment, I'm not seeing anything from the leaders either. So let's move on to item 4, our guest speaker. So we have Todd Smith, and I think John is on as well.
Yes, John Quinmer.
Okay, so we have both our guest speakers, Todd Smith and John Quinmer, of the El Dorado County Veterans Affairs Commission, and they're here to discuss the veteran services and the various programs which they administer. So I'm not sure who wants to do the lead in, whether it's John or Todd, but over to you guys.
John, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, John, you got the PowerPoint up, I see?
Yes.
Okay, I had it as well, so I'm just going to go ahead. You have it up. We'll leave it at that. Good evening, everybody. My name's Todd Smith. I am the District 1 Commissioner and Chair of the Commission for El Dorado County Veterans Affairs Commission. I am on my second term under Supervisor Heidel, and we are going to give you a presentation this evening about what we do with the commission and how it benefits veterans in the county from the past moving forward to the future. So moving forward with that, the Veterans Affairs Commission. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay. So what we have is in the commission, we have 2 commissioners from each district, both appointed by their supervisor. You need to be an honorably discharged veteran in order to qualify and live in the district that you are representing to be considered as a candidate or a commissioner for the county. Again, my name's Todd Smith. I'm a Navy veteran. Hey, John. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I've lived here in El Dorado Hills for 18 years, so I'm pretty familiar with what goes on in the county along with veterans issues. We represent all veterans of all the U.S. Armed Forces up here. The purpose of our mission is mainly Veterans Affairs oversight, to assist the Department of Veterans Affairs to assist veterans in our county to get services and benefits they've earned through their service. We have grant programs that we let people apply for to apply for money that is generated through TOT in the county, which represents about 5% of the budget and up to about $300,000 annually. We use that money for educational purposes, post-traumatic stress therapy programs, getting death benefits for veterans that could not maybe afford to bury their loved one veteran, and overall advocate for veterans' well-being and health in the county and make sure that they get to where they need to be and so they can get the services that they need. Our office is located at 130 Placerville Drive, Suite B, Placerville. Hours of operation are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, Placerville. Phone numbers listed on the PowerPoint. El Dorado Hills extension as well. And you can also reference veterans questions at eldoradocountygov.us. So what we do at the Veterans Service Office is what I just mentioned at the address is the men and women that work up there basically are contacted by veterans that are looking for benefits for service-connected injuries or illnesses. They help them get their paperwork processed to the VA in a timely manner so they can get into the system and start generating credit and get services for medical issues they may have. We offer assistance with reevaluation for veterans that come into the office that may get a rating that's not desirable. So we offer them ways to reapply to the VA to bring secondary documentation to move forward with their claim. We offer assistance with dependency indemnity for survivors based upon service-connected death to help offset costs for burial services for veterans, and obviously and the pension for war era veterans as well. Veteran Service Office also deals with death pension for survivors of war era veterans who die of non-service connected reasons. Dependent allowances, household and A&A allowance, California Yountville Veteran Home admissions. For those of you that aren't familiar, the Yountville Veteran Home helps veterans who have fallen on hard times, whether drug or alcohol issues or just life stresses, that need to have a safe place where they can receive services in a safe environment. And we also have the ability to request and correct any and all military records. If a veteran cannot obtain their DD-214, we have the ways and means to help them acquire those documentations. The Veteran Service Office also focuses on vocational rehab to get veterans retrained for their service. If they can't do their job in civilian life, we help them get the tools and education to become retrained so they can be fruitful in their new business. Home loans, obviously the VA home loan program is amazing. I'm on one currently. Educational benefits are phenomenal. We offer the veterans really insight as to what they really are entitled to for education so they can better themselves. Life insurance options, waivers of fees for construction or improvements in the county. That's a project that's going on right now. And ultimately, a veteran ID cards. We have the ability to, for a veteran to get actually an El Dorado County veteran ID card that will have their photo of them, their branch of service, and important critical identifying information. Go ahead, John.
Well, now there is a Veterans Memorial Building up in Placerville, and for those of us in El Dorado Hills, we often don't know about it. It's right next to the county fair building or the entrance to the county fair at 130 Placerville Drive. It has a meeting room and stage, a kitchen, a dining room, a lounge. There's a conference room and the offices of the Veteran Service Officer there, as well as there's storage, and there's a number of militaria which is in the building. So if you're up there, walk into the building because you will see all kinds of uniforms and medals and other things that have come from El Dorado County veterans. In El Dorado Hills, there are very few veterans organizations per se. These are the veterans organizations that are active within El Dorado County. Some of these organizations use the Veterans Memorial Building, but many of them have their own buildings, such as the one up in Georgetown, just a beautiful structure that they remodeled, an old Gold Rush building that they remodeled. There is a number of private organizations, in addition to the Veterans Affairs Commission and the Veteran Service Office, that work in El Dorado County, such as El Dorado Veterans Resources. They provide critical transportation to VA and medical appointments. In fact, a little later, I'm going to talk about a veteran who is working in that group that's getting an award this year for the service they provide. They also do something that's called a stand down. And stand down in military terms is when you stand a military unit down in order to reassess where you're going forward. And we do the same thing with veterans, where we hold stand downs in Placerville, where we bring the veterans in and we provide all the medical services and counseling they might need at one time in one location. We also have a program called No Vet Goes Hungry through food assistance through El Dorado Veterans Resources. And there's housing assistance and clothing assistance. And it's a liaison point with the various agencies that are out there. One of the groups that is private and that really helps veterans is Only Kindness. They tend to work with the veterans that are at risk, extremely at risk. In other words, they've gone into the court system, may be jailed, or they may be facing court. One of the unusual things about our judicial system in California is that we have something called a veterans court. Recognizing that many veterans suffer from PTS and other combat-related stresses, there is a veterans court for minor offenses, less than felonies. They are able to go in and get counseling. and to be able to deal with this issue before it becomes that they are now in the prison system of California. And we have to reach the veteran early on, and only Kindness does that where they reach the veteran. So they're dealing with the at-risk veterans, and they also have transportation, bus passes, gas cards, and other assistance that they provide in getting these people at risk into care before they go into the judicial system. The El Dorado County Veterans Alliance is an organization that runs takes care of the Veterans Monument in Placerville and runs all the ceremonies up there. It also conducts a major golf tournament at Serrano Country Club, which in the past 5-6 years has raised well over $200,000 for veterans programs, and they provide grants. Snowline Hospice reaches end-of-life veterans and provides a lot of care. They actually have a released veteran who's studying medical, usually a nurse or someone who's working in the medical field, who works as a liaison with veterans and their families. Folsom Lake College has an excellent Veterans Success Center in which they provide an area for veterans to come in and study and get a good transition from active duty into civilian life. There are many groups in the county, such as Sierra Chaplaincy and Windows to My Soul, that work with PTS counseling. So if you know of a veteran that is suffering and has difficulties, all of these resources are available. We're going to provide this PowerPoint presentation to Cindy, and she'll make it available to anybody so that you can see what these programs are. Windows to My Soul is very interesting in that they use equine therapy, that is putting someone with a horse, and in order to work through the difficulty they have dealing with whatever they experience. Operation Rebound, I just saw Jim Cahill recently out working with a veteran, teaching him how to kayak. They do adaptive sports, and this again is a volunteer group. And Operation Good to Go, Tracy DeVita out of, I believe, Camino. Tracy provides packages to homeless vets that get them going, that get them to moving forward. I mentioned the El Dorado County Veterans Monument. El Dorado County is an unusual place. We have the highest percentage of veterans living in our county of any county in California. And we have one of the most outstanding veterans programs, not just in our Veterans Affairs Department, but also at the Veterans Monument. As you can see, this is one of the ceremonies. This is actually Memorial Day from this past spring when we did a totally socially distanced ceremony, and we did it virtually. We're going to be doing the same thing for Veterans Day. The Veterans Monument, as you see from the bricks on the right side of the screen, we have over 2,000 memorial bricks and monuments up there, everything from the French and Indian War to the most current wars. Any veteran, living or dead, can be memorialized up there. In fact, I point to Bob Bogovitz, one of the bricks that's there from El Dorado Hills, who died last year, and his brick was put up on Memorial Day. He was a helicopter pilot, U.S. Air Force, and so and I have a brick up there. So whether you're living or dead, you can be memorialized. It's a great way to say to a family member, we cared about your service, and we're putting in a brick. That money that comes from those bricks goes to scholarships for the children of veterans. So it's really a good program. On Veterans Day this year, Veterans Day always occurs on the 11th month, the 11th day at the 11th hour. And this year, we'll be doing, because of COVID-19, a socially distanced program that we're going to videotape and then have broadcast on television channel 2, cable channel 2, which is Comcast, and also on a number of Facebook pages. The theme this year is service and support of families and friends. And very unusual kind of ceremony we're going to have this year, in which every veteran who's there, whether they're carrying the Navy flag or the Army flag, will have a family member. It could be their spouse, it could be their children with them. This year, the Veteran of the Year is Sergeant Leo Cooper, U.S. Army, an incredible guy. There'll be stories in the Mountain Democrat and the Village Life this week about him. Also, Tim Page, a Navy fire control technician, U.S. Navy vet. He's getting the Veteran Service and Support Award. He was the driver that was moving a van through Sacramento, carrying a veteran to an appointment when someone threw a surveyor's tripod over the top and it crashed through, nearly killing the veteran. Tim has given thousands of hours of service in driving veterans to their various appointments. And of course, we will have proclamations and a wreath presentation and taps. It's very formal. We do everything very militarily at the Veterans Monument, and we've been praised by admirals and generals for the military discipline that we provide. It's one of the finest and largest ceremonies in the state of California. Normally, we'd have about anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people there. So these are the locations where you can see it on Veterans Day at 11 a.m. On Wednesday the 11th. It'll also be running on these Facebook pages, and it'll be on this Blogspot YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see the ceremony afterwards. Todd.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Captain. Well done. Supervisor Heidel.
Yes.
Would you like to comment a little bit on the Purple Heart County, and then John and I will add a few things as well?
Yeah, it's an outstanding recognition to be identified as a Purple Heart County, and the El Dorado County was able to enable that. I think it was about 9 months ago now.
Right.
And through a series of processes, we made a declaration, but it's actually on our webpage. And what it really does is it shows people how much we care about our veterans, and particularly our Purple Heart veterans, which, as most of you know, had severe injuries in conflict. And so it's to commemorate them and to keep them in our minds in terms of those who really have dedicated themselves to preserving our freedom. And I think that's why it's important that we recognize it at the county level. So that's kind of my lead into it. Todd, what do you want to add to that?
Well, I do. I want to just add is that someone who has done 2 deployments overseas, one in Southeast Asia and one in Southwest Asia, and having friends that are Purple Heart recipients and have seen, you know, the horrific dynamics of war, and have had the honor to serve with those men and women, and now back home stateside, and have friends that are Purple Heart recipients. My time in the military and in law enforcement, who, you know, became law enforcement after their time in the military. I will tell you is that seeing those signs and knowing that our county, El Dorado County, is a Purple Heart County was probably one of the proudest moments as being a resident of this county. It really solidifies the allegiance that we have as citizens to our veterans, men and women that serve our country, and ultimately are willing to take the ultimate sacrifice. And for those of you that don't know, we have approximately 17,000 veterans in El Dorado County. We have more veterans in this county per capita than any county in the state of California. The reason why is because people choose El Dorado County for all of its beauty, Lake Tahoe, outdoor activities, beautiful places to own a home, recreate, socialize, and there's no county like it in the state, in my opinion. So tie that into the Purple Heart family up here, the Gold Star families that really give back and want to serve our county, and the men and women that have received this wonderful, beautiful medal just speaks volumes of our county, and I'm proud to be a citizen and part of our mission. So thank you. John, go ahead.
I would say the same thing. And I also appreciate the Board of Supervisors that we have and the support they've given us as veterans. Anything we've ever asked for, they've been helpful. And they just have a can-do attitude. So I particularly thank Supervisor Heidel for standing up for us and for giving us this venue during November, which is very dear to us, Veterans Day, to be able to describe. We put up our email addresses. There may be private questions people want to ask us of us. We're willing to talk to anybody. Send an email and then we'll call you if need be. We'll talk to you, but we open any questions that people have before we close this out.
Very good. And I do want to piggyback on your Veterans Day activities and stuff, and let everybody know that there is also an event in El Dorado Hills specifically for Veterans Day. It's been organized by Kathy Hatton, and it's called the Veterans Day Drive-By. It's a caravan that will commence at 9:15 a.m. on Wednesday, November the 11th. Everybody's going to congregate at the El Dorado Estates Gracious Retirement Community. That's at 4240 Town Center Drive in El Dorado Hills. We'll have a driver that'll meet you there, and they're going to go through the estates. But there's some important things to recognize. There's 20 veterans that are housed within El Dorado Estates Retirement Community, 3 World War II veterans, which is pretty incredible that we still have, World War II veterans around. 5 Korean and other Vietnam veterans are also at that facility. So if you have the time and the interest, we can send out the information. I think we have it on my website. But again, it's 9:15 a.m. on Wednesday, November the 11th, and everybody is to meet at the El Dorado Estates Gracious Retirement Community, 4240 Town Center Drive in El Dorado Hills. Following that part of the tour, that's the first stop. The second stop will be at Ponte Palmero. And so you can continue and go to Ponte Palmero if you'd like. There's actually 50 veterans that live in Ponte Palmero. And so I'm guessing that would probably be 10:15, 10:30. And again, there's instructions for all of this. So you're welcome to participate throughout the caravan. There's a 3rd stop at Escaton and Cameron Park, a 4th stop at Gold Country Retirement Community, where actually they have 68 veterans at the Gold Country Retirement Community, 5th stop at the El Dorado County Veterans Memorial, a 6th stop at the Escaton Senior Community in Placerville, and that kind of rounds out the caravan tour for the day. So again, if you're interested, we can get you the information, but I'd encourage anyone who has a little bit extra time, particularly in El Dorado Hills, to try to turn out to the El Dorado Hills one if you can. So with that, I think we'll open it up for any comments or questions. We'll take anyone from the leadership group first who would like to ask Todd or John Poimer a question.
We need to get them out of the, let's see.
So who's got the video up? We need to drop the actual PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it right now.
Okay, we need to close it. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so you want to go to, let me see if panelists had any.
Yeah, anyone on the leadership team that has a question or a comment? Okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask something real quick for either Todd or John to answer. In El Dorado County, in terms of the services for veterans, what seems to be the greatest need? Is it transportation because of just kind of the nature of the rural area of the county and where services are at, or is it something else?
John, do you want to?
Well, yeah, I would say right now, what has happened because of COVID-19 has really hit us hard. And what it is that a lot of the volunteers that were driving these vets to various appointments have not been able to do it. And the reason is they're concerned. I mean, many of us, I'm 74. So we're all concerned about our own health. And then you're going to drive someone else and you don't know what health they have or whatever. So there's a real problem right now of just getting these vets to their appointments, whether it might be mental health counseling or a VA medical appointment, or it's a meeting with the VA on some administrative issue or whatever their issue is. We try and have that transportation. And right now it's really in trouble. It's mainly because we don't have the volunteers. We have all kinds of volunteers that do this. The other problem is one that I think is a state issue, and I almost say to John Heidel that we need the supervisor's help on this one, is that when a volunteer, this is true for any of you that are involved in volunteer work, when a volunteer drives for another organization, such as he drives for the county or drives for, they know the county may not insure them. And now suddenly their insurance company will not insure them because they're doing something for someone else. So rather than doing it for themselves and their friends. So we had one driver who was driving many hours using the van that we got donated from a car dealership. And he can no longer drive because if he drives, he has a big accident, he's personally responsible. So that's something I hope to talk to Kevin Kiley and some of our legislators in the area to see if they might address this on a state level. But we need to protect volunteers that are helping others. It's crazy. So it's the transportation issue more than anything else.
Hey, John, Mr. Davey?
Yes.
I will add to what John, I was actually just at the VA hospital at Mather this week on, when was it, on Friday. And I will tell you is that it is, compared to its normal day-to-day operations and business down there, it is a skeleton of what it was prior to COVID. It's very empty, which is concerning because I know we obviously, as I commented about how many veterans we have in this county, young and old, but also the surrounding counties for that that hospital being the regional anchor for veterans issues or veterans care next to Reno or the Bay Area, that's it. So we now have what John commented on is a lack of the ability to transport veterans, i.e. vehicles and drivers that could drive those vehicles. And then the liability issue. We were running very smoothly pre-COVID, or much smoother than we were in past. And now it seems like it's almost at a standstill. They're still getting down there, but the time frame and the consistency is definitely not there. We got to figure that out.
One more thing I would add is the food issue, which is pretty shocking. We're giving an award. I mentioned Leo Cooper, a sergeant, was a Vietnam veteran. Leo is up there cooking at the Veterans Memorial Building 100 meals a month, which he freezes, and he gets the food from a variety of stores that help him, food stores and so forth. And then he freezes them, prepares the food, and then brings it out to these veterans. And he said to me, he says, you'd be just shocked at the conditions that these people live in that he goes to see. And many of these people are not asking for any help. One thing we find with veterans communities, and I don't know all the other human health services agencies, but veterans don't ask for help. And they believe that they'll help one another, but they're not going to ask the county or ask government or ask anyone else for help. I had a veteran that I was doing an intake with that was living on $100 a month. And I said to the guy, how much do you have in your pocket? He said, I don't have anything. And I said, I took out of my own wallet. I said, here's some money. I will not have that. He'll accept it from another vet. When I asked him if that was enough, he says, oh, I'm fine with $100. He was fine. And that's the typical response we get from veterans. They don't want the help. They're not asking for the help. They need the help. And so we as vets, Todd and I and others that are vets, we can talk to them. Because as soon as we start talking service, they all open up. But if a government official talks to them, they don't want to talk to them. Anyone else, they don't want to talk to them. But as soon as it's a vet, yep, they'll talk to us. So food's an issue too.
Good insight. Yep. I do want to mention the fact that I was up at the Pollock Pines Hotel where we have the homeless. There's about 22 people up there now, and I did meet a veteran up there who was trying to get help and stuff. So I don't know if you gentlemen have had an outreach up at that Pollock Pines Hotel. There's several organizations that have. I got to chat with the gentleman for a short period of time, and we can certainly get the contact information. But there's at least one veteran up there who's in that homeless condition, trying to find transitional housing, et cetera. And first assessment, he seemed to be in relatively good shape, good physical shape, pretty good mental acuity, that sort of thing, without a whole lot of conversation. So hopefully he's got a positive path forward if he just gets some help and understands what services are available, et cetera, et cetera. So it happens every day. You come across new people that are veterans. Like you said, they don't ask for the help for the most part. You have to go out and recruit them and bring them in, and then they do tend to only want to talk to other veterans because they don't want to tell you a story of woe for the most part. They're proud people. They're very proud. And so that's part of the condition you find these veterans in, but we all have to do what we can to try to help. And I'd be glad to work on the liability thing. I think that really should be a federal government process.
It really should.
Work it at the state, but we ought to work it with McClintock and see if we can't get whoever is elected, right? To see if we can't get something going through our Congress, because that should be nationwide. Anyone who's offering volunteer services for our veterans who has some kind of an ID card that qualifies them to do that should not have to worry about the liabilities and insurance. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Because we lose volunteers.
Veteran sport. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Supervisor Heidel?
Yes.
It's my thought too, is that, I mean, the Department of Veterans Affairs would not be opposed to some type of nexus that would streamline their services. They have shuttle services from the VA that dispatch outside, but again, they're overwhelmed with their ability. So I could say that what a fine time to link with the Department of Veterans Affairs and see what we can do.
All right, very good.
All right.
Any other comments? We have a couple hands up.
There's Wendy May.
Yes, if I might just say, this isn't just about the veterans, it's about any disabled person in our county. The unfortunate reality is these transportation services, if you cannot get up and off that ramp by yourself, especially if you are wheelchair bound, you will not be served. So that is another huge issue.
Yeah, thank you for that. You're absolutely right.
And then we have Riona.
Yeah, I was wondering if you have demographic data for what's the gender percentages of men and women vets within our county? And are there any unique services or requirements for women vets that would be different than men vets?
We have both men and women veterans that are in getting care. I don't have the numbers, the percentage breakdown, but I'm sure the Veteran Service Office well knows it. But we have a different military today. And we're seeing a large percentage of women coming out as vets. And when I go down to Folsom Lake College, there are guys and gals together basically going through the same issues. And what we find is that women are no different than the men with PTS, whether they were a truck driver in a combat area and they come back with PTS, or even someone in the back area, whether it was a man or a woman, they still get it. And it's a matter of the shock of losing friends and being through that traumatic experience. So as far as the differences, I don't have enough information to tell you whether women have different issues than men. I'm sure the Veteran Service Office would, but we care about every veteran, no matter their gender. And we make sure that veterans are treated equally in everything we do.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Do you have anyone else?
I think that's it.
All right, again, Todd and John, thank you very much for your presentation. Well received, and appreciate all the work you put into this. Let's just keep working together and keep it going, because again, we have a very proud heritage in terms of recognizing our veterans in El Dorado County. We don't want to lose that. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And good luck to you tomorrow, Supervisor Heidel.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll be over soon.
It'll be just fine, my friend.
All right.
Take care, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's move on to item 5, supervisor communications. And I know we did receive some correspondence from the CSD. Maybe we should start with that. Is there anyone who would like to, Tani, would you like to go ahead and provide the response that you provided us relative to what's been going on at both, well, primarily Calathea, but do you have anything you'd like to comment on at this point?
I can just somewhat repeat what was provided by the CSD to yourself in your office, if that's okay.
Yeah, just summarize that, yes.
Yeah, so as far as Calathea Park goes, we shut that down a little over a month ago for renovations, but to summarize the activity, beginning probably end of spring through summer, the CSD ended up seeing probably a heightened use of the park by individuals. It was getting shared through social media for the view and the sunset. And to be able to kind of help try to manage that, we didn't end up with any activities that were illegal. We just seen a heightened use. So to help combat that though, as far as like the park goers that would stay later than the park should be open, we ended up bringing in our contract security as well as staff and added cameras to be able to manage the situation and be able to track, I guess, the use that was taking place and compare that to the reports that we were receiving. So that ended up lasting throughout the summer. It was a very popular location. However, people, for the most part, were very willing to listen and were there for just the experience of the sunset. And when asked to leave, not knowing that the park closed at sunset, they were very willing and took a little bit to usher them out, but we didn't really end up with any issues. So since the closure though, we haven't really had any reports of anyone jumping the fence during the renovation process. And something that's gonna be coming out in our newsletter, if it hasn't already, is just kind of the progress and work that we've done on Calathea Park since the closure. So we're working on the bathroom, and we've had soils testing done, irrigation audits happening this week, and we're going to be looking at having the turf renovation start fairly soon. It's a process that likely has to go through our board for approval just because of the amount of work. So We haven't had anything that we've had to call the sheriff on, and we haven't had any incidents to where the sheriff's informed us of any illegal activities taking place throughout the summer and since we've closed. So I think that overall, that the park really hasn't been an issue. We had to deal with a heightened use, but outside of that, I think we put staff out there and security and cameras, and we did our best to manage the situation.
Okay, thank you, Tony, for that report. Appreciate it. So, Sita, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point on either Calathea or Heaven from your observations?
Yeah, let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, hi there. Okay, Sita Burgess. I'll keep it brief. So for those who don't know me, I'm a neighbor, stakeholder resident, helping to kind of promote public safety and working with the different agencies and elected officials and fire, sheriff. Thank you guys all so much. So just a couple updates for what we as a community see at Calathea and the surrounding areas, including Beatty Drive. So there has been some multiple incidences of people climbing the fence, jumping the fence into Calathea Park after hours. They come sometimes a couple times a night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or midnight or after. I have neighbors tell me that they do call the after hours line occasionally a CSD. And that's something we're all kind of working together with. We have footage of them climbing back over the fence. So they're going through at the, I think the parking lot access point, parking lot area. And then, let's see, so the suspicious behavior that was going on. So neighbors were noticing that a car would come and park after hours or at dusk at the parking lot gate. Another car would come and park beside it. Someone would get out of the second car and enter the first car and then get back into their car and leave. And this would happen a couple times, a few times, depending what day it was. The neighbor was closer, and on one occasion they could see what was going on. It looked like a drug transaction. They did notify the sheriff of what they were seeing. And then we were going to have Parks and Planning meeting this last week. It was postponed with CSD. And the CSD did send us, we're really grateful for that, a kind of a inquiry for long-term solutions. And these are things we've been talking about at the stakeholder meeting for some time, since July. And so we look forward to that. We requested we get some working groups together with the CSD so we can collaborate, HOA and neighboring residents and stakeholders. Now with Heaven, sorry, I know we're trying to get away from that term. So I'd say Beatty Drive, the undeveloped land out there. There has been some trespassing. There's a little opening in the fence at a corner. And it looks like a neighbor has kind of reinforced that opening and shut that down. So that's good. It's been a little bit quieter with the fencing, obviously. A few nights ago, Saturday night, nearing midnight, a lot of banging sounds. There's repetitive banging sounds. Everybody's a little bit on edge after the bullet, went through a neighbor's house. So we are grateful that people called 911 and notified the law enforcement. And in the morning, a neighbor, a lot of this is written about on Nextdoor, but a neighbor did find a large box of fireworks. It's called Amped, 500 grams. It had 16 shots in it. And that box was found along Sophia Parkway. So that would be the bottom of that undeveloped property, which we all know has got a lot of dry brush grass. So we were really grateful that no fire was created by that, by the fireworks. And neighbors did see, a car full of people screeching through, speeding along. It looked like some partying going on there. No trespassing signs. Land developer put those up on Julie Ann Way, and that is quieting things down a bit over there. Neighbors are being very proactive in calling sheriff. CHP, we do recommend people call CHP as well to let them know when we have a lot of reckless driving, potential partying going on where people might be getting in their car. So it's important to let CHP know that as well. And then we have had a lot of people and neighbors who talk about this next door along since Beatty Drive's been developed. You know, Ridgeview Village has had some escalation in criminal activity, and in the last month, there's been a few cars burglarized in Ridgeview. Then they get access to the garage with the garage door clicker. So just encourage neighbors to continue calling any suspicious behavior. We've recently also seen people trespassing. Drones are flying around. It's interesting, the park is closed, but yet there's drones in the evening over the park and around the neighboring homes. So yeah, it's quieted, but yeah, thank you. We are staying alert, and I'd say that you know, the after-hour trespassing at the park is something that we do want to kind of keep an eye on and work together with the CSD to find some solutions together. So that's it. That's what I got.
All right, thank you, Steve. I appreciate the update. And obviously with the weather changing and stuff, I think we're going to see, and the park being closed, but even at the Beatty Drive site, we're going to see obviously a drop off and people wanting to come out. And since daylight saving is shifted and it's going to get cooler, I mean, I think we're through the worst part of the incident, obviously, until we get into the spring, and then we'll see what happens then. Hopefully COVID will be gone and people will be a little bit more free to travel around, and this won't be as highly desired
You fired it and everything, or just
destination.
painted it?
So,
You had to fire it. No?
okay. So with that, I'm going to move on to the third item under supervisor communications, the North State Conference, sponsored by Assemblyman Kiley in Red Bluff, and it was sponsored by several assemblymen and state senators. But I did get a note back from Don Ashton, our CAO, after he had talked with Sheriff D'Agostini, who was our representative at the conference, and they reported that the state legislative representatives who requested the meeting will be providing all boards of supervisors with a recap of the meeting, along with several action items they will be requesting the Board of Supervisors to take action on from each county. So that's that part of it. It says anticipated this correspondence will be provided sometime in the next couple of weeks. So I was a little bit surprised at how long it may take just to get a summary of a recap of the meeting and then the action items, but I guess they're formulating different things. I did get a chance to talk to Assemblyman Kiley briefly. He identified two major things that they were looking at. One is the need to reopen schools to a greater extent, to try to get the kids back in classrooms and obviously full participation in school activities, as opposed to the limited distance learning and other things that are going on. And then another item that was more along the lines of trying to make sure that the proper steps to open up all of the county operations, and in particular, transitioning more authority to the local cities and counties, at least in the rural areas, to administer and support their own activities based upon the numbers that are in their hospitals in terms of hospital patients associated with COVID, the numbers in the ICU units, those kinds of statistics, but essentially turn more authority over to the smaller entities, the counties and the cities, to administer their own work. So those were the two major themes that I heard out of it. I also got a chance to talk with Bonnie Gore. Bonnie is the chair of the Placer County Board of Supervisors this year, and she was not able to attend. She was planning on it, but unfortunately, she had suspicions that she may have contracted COVID, and so she had to stay home, and her test results were not back when I talked to her, but she reluctantly did not get to participate. And I understand the other representative from Placer County, Kirk Euler, was not present. So from everything I know, Placer County was not represented. So at least we did have a representative there. I think that was favorable, and there'll be more activities to come. The other thing I want to note is Assemblyman Kiley did send out a note today relative to the lawsuit, the court case that was heard. I'm going to give you his summary that came from his blog. It said, today a California Superior Court ruled in favor of himself and fellow legislator James Gallagher in our lawsuit challenging Gavin Newsom's abuse of power. The judge ruled Newsom violated the Constitution. She also found good cause for a permanent injunction restraining the governor from issuing any more unconstitutional orders. And then he has a link to where you can read the ruling. This marks an end to Gavin Newsom's one-man rule. It makes clear that the laws of the state of California do not countenance an autocracy under any circumstances, not for a single day, and certainly not for 8 months with no end in sight. The ruling is tentative, meaning Newsom has a few days to try to persuade the judge to change her mind, but it's rare for a tentative ruling to change. Newsom can still appeal, but they are confident the decision is on solid legal ground and will stand. So that came from Assemblyman Kiley, and I'm sure we'll have a good discussion at our next board meeting on November 10th relative to all those things that are happening and what's going on with other COVID-related numbers. I will tell you that Placer County was suspecting they would go back to red from having been orange, just due to the higher incidence of COVID cases they've had. And with the high incidence El Dorado County has experienced lately, we're on that same path, unfortunately. So we had, I think, 41 new confirmed cases over the 3-day period, which was over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that's a bad number for a 3-day count even. So we're not in good stead. And what surprised me is a lot of the new cases are coming out of the center part of the county, as opposed to El Dorado Hills and South Lake Tahoe, which we know have had the highest incidences in the past. We're now seeing a significant incidence in the center part of El Dorado County, in the Placerville area and other surrounding areas. And I guess the toughest part for me was to see that 5 of the 41 new confirmed cases were 65 and over. Those are obviously the more susceptible seniors in our community. There was, I think, 4 hospitalizations associated with it, but nobody was in the ICU. So when you see the 65 and over count go up, not a good sign. So hopefully we don't see any deaths, that the recoveries are all good, and that people get through this and then are given a clean bill of health relative to having gotten past the COVID exposure and contraction. But we're not in a good position right now. I guess that's the way I'll leave it until we get additional news. We all need to double down our efforts to try to stop the spread of COVID, because it's getting bad. And you see the numbers nationally, a national trend, everything is increasing as well. So, and a lot of states are worse than California, and certainly the rural counties in California are not experiencing it, the kinds of cases that other areas are, but we're still seeing significant numbers. So I'm going to end at that. And then the last thing I want to report, and then we'll open it up for any questions anybody might have on the supervisory communications, was LAPCO, our El Dorado County LAPCO, has started the EID Municipal Service Review. Some of you may have read in the Mount Democrat that the EID board reviewed the provisions wherein LAPCO is suggesting that due to the time window that they're looking at service reviews, that the sphere of influence of EID in the South County, which is really south of Highway 50, but the very south part down against the Cosumnes River, Amador County boundary, that perhaps should be removed from the sphere of influence at this point in time and could be added later. But the EID board voted 3-2 to leave it as is. So there will be ongoing discussions on that, and there's other provisions within that municipal service review as well. So anyone who has an interest in better understanding EID's level of service, their history of things, that service review draft would be a good document to research and understand what the history of EID has been and where we think we're going in the future. So I'll leave that for the 4th item, and then we'll open up for any comments or questions on any of those things from any of the panelists, any of the member leadership team. Todd.
He's unmuted. Okay. There he is.
Got you. Supervisor Heidel, I just want to express some concern that I have regarding COVID. So my understanding is, having reached out to medical experts, this is a biological issue that's going to require a biological solution. My concern is that if we shut back down in this county, regardless of the numbers, it's all about the deaths in my eyes and hospitalizations. I'm not to sound callous, but how are we as an El Dorado County going to survive if, God forbid, we get shut back down again?
I think there's going to be a lot of resistance to that, obviously, and Placer County, I think, is a little bit ahead of us in that, but I don't know. I mean, the case that the governor lost, evidently, to the state legislators that have talked about his complete control of COVID executive orders and shutdowns, if that holds, then I'm not sure anybody across the state is going to be paying as much attention to what the governor has done. But I wish he would just relinquish his role and turn it over to the local counties to administer as best they know how to get through it. Because you're right, we're going to go through this COVID thing, and I gotten to the point that I've almost treated it right now like a normal flu bug or something or other. It's not a flu bug, but you have to treat it as that. There's some people who are going to contract it. They're going to get infected, and they're going to survive, and there very few of them hopefully will have any long-term consequences. But even the normal influenza has some long-term consequences on people who have comorbidities and susceptibility to those things. So I think it's time that we opened up our economy, got kids back in school. We need to maintain as much safeguards as we can, the use of PPE and social distancing to the extent we can. But by the same token, I think youth sports needs to be opened up. My grandson needs to play football. There's a lot of things like that I think we need to honestly listen to what people are saying and move more in that direction than being ultra conservative. But that's a personal opinion. The board obviously has 5 members, and we'll have ongoing discussions as to how we deal with it. So that's the best I can offer at this point, Todd.
Thank you, Supervisor. I know I'm on the same opinion as you are. Knowing how this has been, I would say that our county, again, back to how great our county is, I would say that the vast majority of citizens in our county are compassionate people and understand about community fabric and compassion. I really believe that. That's why I live here. But I am concerned on the other side that if we do not take control, as you stated, for our own future and success as citizens of this county and let someone at the state level dictate, I don't think that we can afford it moving forward to, from the mental health standpoint, from the financial standpoint, to the educational standpoint, the social interaction. All those things are going to be hit heavily more than we've seen if we don't move forward.
And you as I discussed, it's definitely had an impact on the veterans. It's had an impact on seniors. It's had an impact on the youth. I mean, you can just name every category of our society pretty much. And COVID has had a significant impact on them, at least emotionally, if not mentally, right? So yeah, we've got to do something better than what we've been doing in the past. That's kind of where I'm coming from. So other comments or questions? Who else do we have?
Let me see if anybody, I don't see any other.
All right, very good. Appreciate it. Let's go on then to our leadership team progress reports. Do we have anybody from is Alex on there? Anybody from the Sheriff's Department?
I don't think so.
I don't see, yeah.
Okay, and how about from our CHP? Is Andrew on?
I don't see either of them.
Okay, they're still recovering from the Halloween event, I guess, but going around and cleaning up all the busted pumpkins, although there weren't many pumpkins around this year as far as I can tell.
Getting ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, getting ready for elections tomorrow. So Chief, how about giving us the fire report? How are you guys doing with all the strike teams, incident call? California is still burning, but hopefully we're going to get beyond that quickly too. So.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, it has been just a remarkable year as far as the wildland fire season goes. And that would be the reason I wasn't with you last meeting. I did spend about 3 weeks out at the Northwest Complex and then at the Zog Fire up in Redding. I spent about 22 days out, and I'm just amazed at how many crews, California statewide, how many firefighters from across the state had been out for weeks and weeks and weeks just moving fire to fire. So it has truly been a remarkable year. I know that for us, it's probably the busiest strike team deployment year on record. It is important to know for the community, though, that even when we send our firefighters out, we still always maintain the full staffing strength here at home. So you're not ever left in a compromised position. We just make people stay and work. And so we always maintain our full strength. So that's important for our community. We did just as well send a crew down to the Los Angeles area for that big fire they had in Orange County. I think it was near Irvine. And those crews are back. And at this point, we have everybody home. So, but fire season is not over. Still kind of keep your guard up until we get some measurable rain that really gets that moisture back in some of these fuels. It's going to be a dangerous time. And Southern California is still obviously susceptible to wind events. So that's something that we're kind of watching here for this year. The other kind of good, on a positive note, we have some great things going in the fire department. At least we have some promotional testing going on right now for engineers. So you'll see our crews out and about doing a bunch of hose pulls and engines driving around, and promotions are always a good, and testing processes are a good positive thing for an agency. So that's occurring right now. And then we're looking forward to seeing what we're going to be able to do this year for our holiday activities. I know we're planning to decorate the senior tree at the senior center again, that with Supervisor Heidel helped us get funding for those lights, I think a year or two ago. And so we'll be decorating that again, looking forward to that. And we're definitely, no matter what, we're going to be collecting food for the people that need food in our county and toys for the kids in our county. So one way or another, given the COVID restrictions, those two things are very important that we deliver upon to the kids and the people that need those services. So looking forward to the holiday year, given the unique times that we're in. And that's the end of my report.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. And I know, although it seems like every year we talk about this is going to be the worst year California's experienced in terms of fires, we've had the biggest fire California's ever had in the complex. It was up around Sonoma and stuff this year. So yeah, huge numbers in terms of acres burned, huge numbers in terms of loss of houses, loss of structures, displaced people. Butte County got hammered again this year. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I keep reading these CAL FIRE state reports, and it's a sad situation to really tally the numbers and look at how bad 2020 has been, not only for COVID, but for fires. So hopefully we'll get beyond this season before too much longer. And then we got to do more next year in terms of vegetation management, thinning our forests, and all those things that we know have to happen. So hopefully we'll find the funding to make some of it happen incrementally and get it done. So thank you, Chief, for your report.
Thank you.
With that, let's go on. I'm just going to run down the line. Economic development. Glenn, I don't know if you had a chance to look up the opening of Sierra Laundry, but Cindy actually attended it. So if you'd like to defer to her to give the report, you certainly can do that.
Well, I will after I give a little bit of an update. But yes, the laundry did open, and they have been receiving, I guess, high marks, and the community really wants them to be successful. But other than that, to piggyback on to the conversation about the coronavirus a little bit, with the opportunity, hopefully, that counties can make their own decisions. I just do want to remind everybody from an economic development standpoint that we do need to protect each other. So the face masks and the social distancing and the hand washing are still going to be important for, potentially another year or more, that we keep our seniors healthy for one, and Supervisor Heidel referenced that there have been some positive cases at over 65. We do want to keep people safe, but we do want to also allow the kids to have their sports, the school to be open, all the businesses to continue to be open, and hopefully the restaurants to be able to increase their capacity as we get into the winter months. But the key to doing that is to continue to be pretty vigilant and pretty careful in protecting ourselves and others in the community so we can stay open and be successful. Because as Supervisor also mentioned, the 40 some odd cases, and I believe the 3-day weekend before was about the same as well. And that's about 2.5, 3 times what it had been before. So even though our cases are really low, our death count is really low, hospitalizations are really, really low, we've done a great job as a county, we still want to keep the numbers low, and we should keep our eye on that. So that's my 2 cents and more. And Cindy, if you can talk about the opening, that'd be great.
Yes, it's the new Sierra Laundry. It's the 4th location of this business. They're over kind of by Nugget next to Salon Capelli. And it's a beautiful facility. You can do your laundry there, and you can also drop off laundry. So it's a really neat addition to El Dorado Hills Town Center, because we don't have anything like that. So we wish them all the best success. So it's a really nice facility.
Very good. And we needed some infill in that town center part of the complex, because the worst number of companies who had to fold and leave. And so somebody getting started in this COVID period is encouraging that we're starting to see companies come back and new companies get started. And so, yeah.
And that is a separate center, the marketplace at Town Center, that does need a lot of support.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's move on to infrastructure. John.
Oh, I wonder if he...
Okay, you got me?
Yeah, you're there. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had the signal turn on at Bass Lake. You were there, Supervisor Heidel, along with DOT Director Raphael. So I hope that's working out for you folks who live in that area, but glad to have that improvement finally done. So that's about it, unless there's any questions for me.
I know the video, the YouTube that was been viewed by, I think it was like 2,000 people or something. I was surprised at the number of people who've taken the time to go look at the YouTube video of that event. So that's encouraging that people are tracking things and they're really interested in the improvements that we're able to make in our infrastructure. And again, thanks to the developers who helped fund that, the advanced funding to get it done. Because unfortunately, we just have not been able to collect enough resources within the county to pay for those kinds of improvements. And we all know with TIM fees and everything that developers do have to pay their fair share. So it's just, I think, very encouraging to see that level of improvement with more to come. And that was discussed as well. So I'll leave it at that. And again, we're going to take questions on any of these at the end. Let's go to good governance. And Dick, we have an upcoming COVID panel town hall on November 19th. I don't know if you want to report on that.
Well, I tried to research that, but I could only find a reference to it being on the agenda this evening. So other than the time and the date, I could not find any specific details.
Okay, I know they were trying to finalize the panelists for that. And they had mentioned some names. I don't remember the names offhand. I think Dr. Williams gave us kind of a summary at the last board meeting as to who she was expecting, at least a couple of panelists. But there'll be more information obviously coming as we get closer to that. But I think, again, in the COVID category, that's another major discussion to have relative to how we open up and what we do to open up. And that panel will hopefully be able to give us some suggestions and some additional safeguards, perhaps maybe a watch list of those people who are most sensitive and what we need to do to fortify the resiliency and the protection of those who are vulnerable. And a lot of times that's nursing homes and those kinds of things. And so, I don't know what the panel may suggest, but I think that's the area we really have to double down our efforts of trying to prevent the spread of COVID into senior populations, I'll call it, because that obviously can have some very devastating effects. So more to come on that date and the timing of it, unless you've seen anything recently on it, Cindy.
No, I just have the same date and time. I don't have any more updates on that.
So more to come on that one, but we did want to get it in November. Otherwise, by the time we get to December, we're talking about history as opposed to a forthcoming meeting. So continue to track that. As we get more information, we'll put it out on our Facebook account and on Nextdoor for anybody who's interested in the dial-in and the Zoom dial-in and the phone connection stuff. Healthy communities. Since Josh isn't with us, I do want to mention that our County Human Rights Commission has been put into a pause mode to collect additional information, to really look at what kind of training may be required before we restart that effort. There's a lot of people who really want to be active and trying to help resolve issues. And unfortunately, that's not really the role of the Human Rights Commission. It's more to inform and educate. Because I think if we get into the adjudication part of it, we've gone too far. So there's a certain amount of temperament that has to be applied to those kinds of things. So we are going through a revisitation of that. But I think, again, there's an outreach going on to try to get all significant parties involved to recognize that human rights are something that we need to all pay attention to and respect, and try to improve the condition that we have in El Dorado County. I don't think we have a horrible condition, but I've heard reports from some of the more rural parts of the county that there is a lot of human rights violations. And so people want to react to that. And I'm not sure that the reaction is helpful. I think we just need to understand what it is and try to educate and transform people's thinking as much as we can. So I'll leave on there. APAC, John, tell us about your meeting coming up on the 11th, if you're still going to have it.
Oh, actually, breaking news. We had actually rescheduled that meeting at the beginning of the year for November 18th. So, we can allow the community to observe Veterans Day. Didn't want to interfere with that observation. So our meeting is a week later than typical.
Okay.
We had been, I had reached out to the El Dorado County Transportation Commission to see if they'd be interested in making a presentation about a couple items, primarily, the new effort on the El Dorado Hills Business Park Transportation Plan, the recently completed active transportation plan for the bicycle and pedestrian facilities that they completed earlier in 2020. And sort of the distinction between El Dorado County government and what the El Dorado County Transportation Commission does. So it turns out I got a email from Jerry on Friday late that they want to move their discussion to December, which is fine. We had actually wanted to talk to see if the CSD would be interested in reviewing the district, the 2021 master plan update. And I had an email with Kevin today, and we're still working on the details of that. We're hoping that they'll be able to have a presentation for us. Glenn and I were both in a focus group for the master plan update. A lot of varied approaches and ideas and concern, but I think primarily, the community is looking for things that make our community better, and the CSC is very interested in that process. So we're hoping we get to hear from Kevin or somebody on the team on the 18th. We also have a bit of a talk about the projects that are proposed along Saratoga Way, right along Finders. There's a 7,000 square foot office building being proposed. They had a TAC meeting for that today. I did sit in through part of that. They also have a 32,000 square foot 2-story medical office building being proposed. Right next to that, it would be right next to the West Coast Joint and Spine Center. So it's a lot of sort of office medical / development proposed right there between Finders and Arrowhead. There's some discussion about, sidewalks and, the timing on the expansion of Saratoga. So those are things we'll probably discuss briefly and review. I do have an email out to those project applicants to see if they would be interested in discussing in November. If not November, then maybe December or later. And then also at the Planning Commission this month, the Bass Lake North, the 90 home residential project there along Sienna Ridge Road. They have a request to modify one of their conditions of approval, which would move the condition of approval was that they provide 100 parking spaces in a park and ride lot at the new intersection of Country Club Drive and Bass Lake Road. And the applicants come back and said, hey, it's pretty pricey. And they were looking at a way to reduce that condition of approval down to 50 as parking spaces instead. And I guess planning staff seems like they want to support that. Planning Commission will just, review that and provide their input. We briefly talked on it. We did provide some feedback on that earlier when that matter first rose. And one of our voting members, Kathy Prevost, she's still looking at it and might be looking to provide some additional feedback based off of what the planning department staff has sort of supported with their findings. So we will be meeting via Zoom November 18th, 7 p.m. And everyone's welcome to attend. And hopefully the last item on that is we do have our nomination for our 2021 APAC officers. And then the vote will be in December. And I promise that's it.
Very good. And I do want to mention, you mentioned the TAC meetings, the Technical Advisory Committee meetings. And I want to throw a compliment, a kudo out to Tiffany Schmidt and her team, who's now opened up that process. It used to be a closed door. You didn't have any visibility of what was going on. The public couldn't understand what was being proposed. It was completely crafted and formed by people within the county planning department. And that has changed dramatically. I was able to only attend the latter part of the Creekside Village specific plan TAC because we had a conflicting board agenda review today. But I mean, those things to me are a huge step forward in terms of getting a very focused look at what's going on and allowing some of the key people who followed development in the past to participate in that, understand what the impact may be, and to provide suggestions on how to improve what they're proposing. APAC used to always be behind the curve. Now they're getting out in front of the curve, at least the opportunities there. So I think that's a huge step forward in transparency and process compared to where we were just 2 years ago.
Yeah, and we really appreciate we always had the invitations, but we were never invited. We had the notification, but we were never invited to attend. It was very agency focused, and for allied agencies outside the county, But it's a very insightful look at how the county planning staff, the different agencies approach development projects, and you get a good understanding that, they really know what they're looking for. There might be things that one agency will bring up that another agency, oh yeah, we really need to follow up on that. And kudos as always to Marshall Cox from the El Dorado Hills Fire Department. He really does drive a conversation. He's very focused on what needs to be done and what our fire agency needs for protecting the community. So yeah, it's very insightful.
I wanted to comment, this is John Vania, that I sat in on those TAC meetings as well, and qualify the Bass Lake North conditions of approval as part of the Planning Commission. The 50 lots would still be done by Bass Lake North, but they're not getting rid of the additional 50, not lots, but parking stalls. They would be done with future development, is the way the condition has been revised. So I wanted to just qualify that.
Yeah, and then also part of that is that I guess it's that instead of actually physically building the 50, they might also just write a check for El Dorado Transit to hold on to.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, very good. So then let's go to the last item before we do questions and answers to this whole segment, community information outreach. Cindy.
Okay, this is just a few things that we've been posting on the supervisors, both Who's Next Door and Facebook pages. We've been trying to keep people updated with the latest information on PG&E's public safety power shutoffs. So as much information we get, we try to give that over to you as well. We also had the insurance commissioner, Laura's update on his investigatory hearing on the wildfires. So there's a lot of good information on the stuff he's working on that stuff. And the El Dorado Hills CSD, they launched an interactive survey for El Dorado Hills residents to help guide them on the 2021 master plan. So that was a really neat opportunity. It's still up, I believe, that if not the CSD can tell us, on being able to give your ideas or what is important to you on what you'd like to see in the next 5 years with regards to the CSD. And we also put up a great presentation. It was the community evacuation plan. It was prepared by the El Dorado Hills Sheriff Office of Emergency Services, and they worked with the CHP, CAL FIRE, the American Red Cross, and the Fire Safe Councils. It's mainly just be prepared, have a plan, and to stay safe. So that's mainly what we've had. Oh, and we've got the COVID updates as well, but that's a daily one.
Right. All right. Very good. So now with that, any questions or comments from any of the other panelists on any of the discussion we've had here under the leadership team reports?
I see Todd.
Todd?
Yes, sir. Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Mr. Davey. Mr. Davey?
Okay, now I'm unmuted.
Mr. Davey, Todd Smith, sir. How are you?
Neighbors, how you doing?
Good, sir. I just want to express some real quick concern with you. So real quick to recap, I have been in my home that I'm currently sitting in, original owner in Woodridge off Bass Lake Road, that bought the lot in 01, moved it in 02, been here ever since. I am extremely concerned about how much revenue taxes have been paid and collected by El Dorado Hills CSD and the Bass Lake Park. When I bought my property here at the sales office in 02, I was told that that park would be done in 03, then it was 04, then it was 05, 06, 07. Now we are 2020, and all that money that was supposed to have been earmarked for this park that we were supposed to have has not come to premonition. And I, as a taxpaying citizen of this county, am extremely concerned as to why. And it's my intent to uncover that why and figure it out. So I just want to throw that out there. If you have some information we could discuss moving forward, but it is a huge concern, not only with me, but the vast majority of those residents that call this home here in Woodridge.
Oh, yeah. And again, I've been in the hills right around the corner for 25 years.
Right.
Built the home here. And, that original park that they presented you in the sales office was a county park on the county 41 acres. The county had some funding proposed for it. The Parks Department, Parks and Rec was reorganized. It just didn't happen. CSD has stepped up. They've have purchased all those lots there, they've obtained, the EID property, the maintenance yard, the school property from Rescue Union School District. The school district had purchased that from EID. The county's 41 acres, and the last piece was the 12.5 acres that was a parkland dedication obligation from Parker Development, Toronto Associates. So the CSD has their plan. They had a pretty good survey result. We saw the results published during their meeting. Not this. I want to say September. But they're moving forward. They have the El Dorado Hills Promise Foundation is working on being a leader in sort of finding that funding. But I'm curious, I'm unsure about the funding sources that you were identified. There's a lot of moving pieces. And like I said, that original park that, was presented to you was a county park, and the county didn't do it. So, we were also told that the Silver Springs Parkway, Bass Lake Road realignment, when we built in 95, was going to be open in 2 years. So here we are 25 years later, but your concerns are valid. And I think the CSD would probably have some good information for you in terms of how they're progressing and what they're proposing.
Well, I appreciate your comment. And again, I'm concerned with that mainly, but also just the reality and the facts are, we haven't built a park in this county in El Dorado Hills since 2008. We've acquired land, but no parks, and our population has grown exponentially. We have no resources for the amount of kids that play sports up here, and that's a problem in order to call it a community. I think that we would all agree that it needs to be fixed. There's a lot of money sitting in the CSD account, and why that is, I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of moving parts, and I agree, but I think it's time that we come up with a clear-cut decision plan to get this community moving forward and have our parks built, along with homes and other things that need to be built for taxable income and infrastructure. But again, we need all those things to happen. If we continue to push off these projects like they've been doing for decades, the cost of construction only gets higher, does not get less.
Yeah, and to your point, we've talked about before, the Silver Springs Parkway project was in 2010. I believe it was over $6 million, and this year it's just under 12. So 10 years, basically double the cost of the project. I see Kevin Lowen has his hand up, and Tawny does as well. So I'm sure they have some information they could share with us.
Yeah, so Kevin or Tawny, who wants to speak first?
Yep, it's Kevin here. And John, I don't want to take over your meeting at all on a couple items. I was going to give just a couple updates. Do you want me to give any CSD updates or speak to the park stuff that was just brought up?
Speak to the park stuff that was just brought up. Tawny gave us an update on Calathea and stuff, so I think we got that covered all right. So.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've been in on the whole time. I lots of good stuff here, really good stuff. And to address what I heard there, John Davies got a real good recollection of the history. I think the genesis of the Bass Lake Action Committee coming from the county's plan for the county regional park. And that might be something that I hang on when I say regional park for the CSD, because that's not really in our classification. We need to update that with our master plan. That probably is jargon for most of you, but it's a technical piece that I do have to address when we go through this next master plan. And for parks that have been built, Promontory Park was about 07, 08. Lake Forest Park followed shortly thereafter in about 2010. Windsor Point Park in 2012 to I think the end of 2012, early 2013. I personally oversaw the Valley View Sports Park built, and we opened it in February of 2015. And we also did Tamashanner Parklet. Heritage Park is under construction now. That's been actually delayed a number of times for a number of reasons. We've been working through the funding sources, and the major funding is park impact fees. So funds that residents that live there in Woodridge, Hills of El Dorado, anywhere in El Dorado Hills that's purchased in the last probably 25 or so years since the park impact fee has been around. We've been working on that and working towards building those parks. And there's a large part of those funds are set aside not just for neighborhood and village parks. There's a big portion that's set aside for a new community center, community park, and an aquatic facility. So you'll see that in the Nexus study for the actual park impact fee. So yeah, like John was saying, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to that. And yes, there is a pretty good nest egg in there right now. But when you look at the cost per acre for like Heritage Park we're building right now, you're looking at approaching close to $800,000 an acre to build. So when you have $20 million and you're going to do a community center, community center would take up all those funds right away, but we can't just do a community center. So that's why we have this other pot of funds called capital reserve or capital deficiency reserve. So we tap into that to offset what we haven't collected in park impact fee funds. And then there's of course financing. So we've been looking at other financing or potentially going out to the community and saying, hey, how much do you want this thing that we're going to deliver? For Bass Lake, specifically in your guys' neighborhood, Todd and John, and I think that's the ones who live right there. There is $3.5 million in a CFD that was part of the Serrano plan. That's set aside to help build the Bass Lake Park piece. That doesn't get anywhere close to what's needed, but it'll get us started. And a big portion of the funds are going to come out of that park impact fee fund. That thing's going to get drawn down probably a lot quicker than folks could even imagine. And then there won't be this, oh, you have this pot of funds you're sitting on. We get it. It looks like you're sitting on a big piece, but when you look at what we're actually going to deliver over the next couple of years or move on, it's going to go away real fast. And then we'll be in the situation that the district was probably in about 20 years ago where there really wasn't that reserve. Anyhow, hey, John, I don't know if you wanted to hear any other updates on CSD stuff, so I will stand by.
So why don't you update us on the Promontory Veterans Memorial dedication, because I do think it's important to get that.
Hey, Kevin.
Wednesday, November 11th.
Sure. Yeah, so I had that down on my list too. We're planning on getting the Promontory Veterans and Heroes Memorial going there at Promontory Park. You know, earlier this year we did the Veterans Bridge on New York Creek Trail. So 10 a.m. on Veterans Day, we plan on having a ceremony out there at Promontory Park. So anyone that can come. After hearing all the other amazing things that are going on, I was gonna kind of take a step back on that, and I thought, man, how can we cart all those people out from those assisted living homes and get them out to where we're going to be at in a responsible way? That would be amazing. But the Eagle Scouts. 3 Eagle Scouts have been working on getting that project off the ground, working closely with me and my team. And we're excited to get that started because the Veterans Memorial Project at Promontory Park has been something that I heard Robert Leone tell me personally last week. He said, I don't remember the exact date, but he goes, I've been waiting since, I think he said November 11th, 2009 for this day. So he'll be speaking at this event. You know, he's been spearheading that one forever. So 10 a.m. on Veterans Day. Important to us, but I think all of the ceremonies and veterans in this great county, as Todd mentioned earlier, very important not to just rest it on one ceremonial day, just something that we need to keep at the forefront of our minds all the time.
Very good. I think we'll close it down at that point and just go to anybody else who might have a question on any of the leadership team reports.
Supervisor Heidel, I just want to make one more comment to Mr. Lowen.
Sure.
Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing, sir? Hey, I just want to clarify on my statement with regard to the parks. My main statement was basically directed towards, and I should have clarified this, about large parks, regional parks, parks that are beneficial for multi-purpose sports complexes like Promontory. That was my reference, is that that is something that we need to have built moving forward, because this community is only going to get larger in population. It's not so much about the smaller regional neighborhood parks or area parks, but more of a regional. That was my comment was geared towards. So I wanted just to clarify that with you.
Oh, you're spot on. You are right. 2008 was Promontory, and
that's my reference. Thank you.
100% agree with you. We have a lack of sports fields, and I agree with you 100%. We got to move on Bass Lake, but hopefully
we'll talk more about that.
Hopefully in a couple more months, we'll have some updates for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else have a question, comment?
Tawny, did you want to say anything? I see your hands up. No?
Oh, sorry. I was talking and not knowing that I wasn't being heard.
Okay.
So no, Kevin covered everything. I wasn't sure if he was still on or not. So I was planning on touching on just about everything that he did. So I'm glad he was able to jump in.
Okay, great.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Tim
White.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something that both John Davy and John Vegna spoke about, and that was the Bass Lake. The developer up there wants to reduce the required parking spaces that he was a condition of approval for his 100+ homes to be built up there. And he wants to reduce the parking spaces from 100 to 50 that as his responsibility. And I just think conceptually that we really need to take a careful look at this. The developer, he's a good guy. He's been active in the El Dorado Hills area for a long time, builds a good quality project. But, you know, he wants to give up or have the County Planning Commission take away his responsibility to build the 100 and just do 50. And it saves him money. And I understand that, but he is not offering anything in return at this point. He's not offering to say, hey, let's, instead of building 86 homes, I'll only build 80. So I have a problem where he gets the approval he needs to build the number of homes that he wanted to build. And then 3 or 4 years later, he comes back and says, gee, I don't want to do one of the conditions of approval and not build something after you gave me all the approvals I needed to get going. So I just think that the Planning Commission needs to look at that very carefully. I think if it gets to the Board of Supervisors, you need to look at that very carefully because promises were made on both sides. And now he wants to go back on his promise to build the full 100 parking spaces. And as far as I understand, he is not offering anything to the county in return for getting his requirement to build those, the full 100 relief from. So just be careful of that because I think this is not a good way to proceed.
I'll throw in real quick on that. And looking at the staff report and the analysis is that, you know, this is a project that's part of the Bass Lake Hill Specific Plan. The Bass Lake Hill Specific Plan has a public facilities finance plan that has triggers for building that park and ride, but they're different from what he's conditioned for. So you have two different metrics and it's almost like you can pick and choose. Well, you know, hey, we understand we're conditioned on this project to build 100 parking spaces, but the trigger to build the actual parking spaces is 600 homes. We're about 130, 170 homes off. So, so it's, you know, it's a lot of horse trading after the fact. And the community's frustrated. I understand that. The other part of that too is that, and I'm sure Commissioner Vega, he's already looked at it, is that, you know, what is the need for the park and ride right now? You know, that project's approved in 2017. The original specific plan was 1996. The development agreements expired in 2016, so they redid it. And now, you know, even El Dorado Transit is going, gee, we don't know if we really need that. But, you know, they do need the bigger facility down by the town center. So again, it's another thing with a lot of moving pieces, but, you know, when you have a specific plan that has triggers built into it, and then you condition a project that really aren't respectful of those triggers in terms of the public facilities financing plan, it's real easy to start moving things around.
Yeah, and this is Commissioner Vania. I wanted to just chime in as well without going into too many details. I did request a letter from the Transit Authority to find out, hey, what are the real needs down there? And so, so I know, I don't see that on the attachments. I'm going to request that be added because I think that's important. But I also know, I mean, before I was on the commission, apparently at the last minute, the developer was asked to add a bike path along Bass Lake Road, which he did, you know, at the last minute. So, so he has, you know, done additional improvements above and beyond his minimum requirements and so forth. So, not to justify it, but I'm just saying, as John said, there's been a lot of moving parts on this. So, but I'm working my way through the metrics in respect to the financing plan, the conditions of approval. I'm trying to reconcile the two. So I'm working on that currently.
Very good. So do we have any other comments or questions on any of the leadership team discussion?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to go kind of into the wrap. Our final meeting of the year will be Monday, December the 7th And oftentimes we'll cancel the December meeting, but with everything going on with COVID and other stuff to report, I think we need to stick with the December meeting. So December the 7th, mark your calendar. Again, we should be starting at 5 p.m. unless we have some kind of Zoom coordination conflicts or something, but plan on 5 p.m. 7th. And our guest speakers next month will be a team again, Jan Robbins and Karen Brown from our El Dorado Hills Friends of the Library, and they'll be here with us to discuss their annual campaign. So those of you who are familiar with the El Dorado Hills Library and all the great events that happens there, Jan is a major participant in all those things in terms of coordinating it, managing it. And Karen is on the committee, the Friends of the Library. They work very closely together. So they're going to talk about their annual campaign and what we can do to support the continuation of developing that library and the services that we have. So we'll look forward to that. And I'll just ask any last go backs that anybody might have before we adjourn. Yeah, Richard.
I will just put it this way. Tomorrow is the day when the peasants attack the castle with their torches. I can only hope that they leave it in fairly good condition. Thank you.
Yeah, let's hope there's no bombings. The torches might be okay. Yes, let's hope we all survive tomorrow's election day stuff and beyond, because I'm not sure we're going to know at the national level all the things that people would like to know. And then the consternation goes on and people get aggressive and who knows what can happen. But hopefully it'll be a peaceful, tranquil result, and we'll move in the right direction no matter which it is. So again, I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for participating this evening. Have a wonderful evening, what's left of it. And if you haven't voted, get out tomorrow and vote, because we need every vote to be counted and represented across the county. So thank you all. And we're adjourned at approximately 6:42. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Todd,
you.
John.
Bye.